All right, friends, we are back with a new review video. It's T-Man. We're going to review JasonBlaha, Strength and Fitness, our favorite influencer, the gym fitness lifting slave himself. Let's see what Blaha has to say today. Blaha says, training volume is not the solution to an intensity problem. Intensity problem. Training, okay.
More volume is not the solution to an intensity problem. Hey everybody, I thought I would chat with you guys and gals about this today.
Thought it would be a growth problem.
This is something we see a lot of. People are always like, well, I'm not gaining muscle, I'm not growing fast enough, or making no progress. I just need to train a lot more. And I can see that if you're trying to lose fat and you know that you're not able to maintain a proper diet, you're not getting your calories low enough, so you...
Are his arms getting smaller? They look like they're getting way smaller. When I'm in a position like this, bench pressing, my arms look massive. A lot of people in the gym tell me, they go, man, when you're laying down benching, dude, they go, you look massive laying down. They're like, what the heck?
You have to add more physical activity in order to burn through more calories.
Only Blaha would get smaller laying down. This is incredible.
I'm not sure that lifting weights is the best solution to that, more weightlifting. I might recommend more walking in that case, but I digress. Back over to the point of the lifting, because keeping in mind...
He looks like an 80-year-old with a bit of low body fat. A bit of a low body fat count, but still sarcopenic for sure. Small arms, see that? Sarcopenia, the skinny legs, and he's got a wide waist, skinny arms. Well, he's trying to control the waist because he's exercising, lifting, and starving himself, overfed, undernourished type of dude. But anyway, yeah, this sarcopenia.
We are lifting for the purpose of gaining muscle. Even if you're using it as a fat loss tool, it's because...
I'll explain what sarcopenia is. It means the dissolution or the loss of satellite cells. That's what it really is. The satellite cell pool is being diminished over time. It's being eroded, diminished. It's being... I don't know. It's he's not. Here's the thing. There's a thing in. I told you in science. There's a thing called use it or lose it. Okay. In use it or lose it, they're not telling you to exercise consistently. Exercise in an adapted state. This is unnatural to be doing something consistently in an adapted state. That's why people get metabolic diseases. That's why in factories like car plants. They learned to move the workers around because they didn't want to pay them disability anymore. They ended up with carpal tunnel syndrome, a whole bunch of stuff, dude. You end up with chronic diseases. Even in factories, they don't keep you long enough on the line. They need to move you around because you would end up with maybe stenosis of some sort or some disease. Some disease will happen if you do anything repetitively. It's a known fact. And so him repetitively doing these exercises over and over again, it actually causes the progenitor cell. That progenitor cell definitely may be activating it may be activating, but there's no muscle damage in his body. In other words, what they're trying to tell you in use it or lose it, they're saying the periodic activation. In nature, we wouldn't run sprints all the time. We may sprint because we're trying to run away from a lion or, I don't know, an animal maybe or something, or maybe we're hunting. But it doesn't happen often, it happens periodically, and we get this damage in our legs. Now, we may be climbing or something for the very first time, and we get this damage. I mentioned this a long time ago. I talked about it. People that would climb, go down a stairwell, or people that would hike they haven't hiked in like a year and they hike, or they go ice skating, or they do something specific like swimming for the very first time because they haven't swam the entire year. So anytime you do something periodically, you get an activation of the satellite cell, but in that regard, you got damaged. You got this damage, there's a proliferation, there's a, split, divide, I don't know. increase the number in the satellite cell, so it can there's some left over for regeneration in the satellite cell pool for further future regenerative demands. But in his case, he's running out of them. That's why he looks so aged. He looks 80. He looks 80 because he's diminished the satellite cell pool. His muscles are really flat. They're small. They're skinny. And the only thing that's keeping him going is TRT, dude. I'm not joking. TRT, not even his fake vegan diet or whatever the heck he's doing there. The little meat that he's eating, it may be preserving him too.
Because you're gaining muscle from it, that's making your metabolic rate go up, or you're at least helping preserve.
Now you understand why people were telling me, hey, Ambassador T, you want to keep us from exercising. No, you go ahead and exercise. You go be a gym lifting slave, and you'll find out very quickly what is going to happen to you. You are going to get a disease. I'm telling you, lifting is the most unhealthiest sport, specifically in an adapted state. If you're adapted doing these things, you're going to end up with some disease, and it'll be chronic, and you're going to be crying, and it's going to be hard to get rid of. You may even wear out parts. You may wear out your knees, or I don't know, your arms, your shoulders. You're going to end up with a lot of problems doing this repetitively, wearing out your joints, all right, causing you some crazy disease that may not go away. Who knows what? I can't even tell you exactly, but it's a known fact, okay? And this also, it's stress. It's constant stress, okay? Can cause you cardiovascular disease and still a bunch of other things too.
Muscle, right? You're preserving muscle so that you are also maintaining metabolic rate and losing body fat.
No, how you preserve muscle is not lifting. You preserve it by periodically lifting, by periodically activating the satellite cell. You don't want the satellite cell to keep coming out of quiescence for no reason because of hypoxia, ROS damage. You understand me? ROS. Then you're losing progenitor cells. That's why people say, well, they read this report about chocolate. We ate chocolate and we found that there was an influx of stem cells in our blood. Well, if there's an influx of stem cells in the blood, they're not they're not splitting, dividing, and increasing in number because of a remodeling effect. Those stem cells floating around, you're losing them, is what's happening.
More quickly, right? Because you don't want to just lose weight.
I'm not joking. You can diminish stem cells in your body. Why do you think they take stem cell injections? Hello. There's a lot of problems there, man. I think people really don't realize what they're doing to themselves. Yeah.
You also need to lose fat if you're trying to lose weight. So again, keeps the metabolic rate up in that case as well. So
you don't want your metabolic rate up. You want your metabolic rate to be low. That's what's going to make you live longer. Think about it. Crocodiles. What do? Their metabolic rate is very low. Why do you see these crocodiles, 200-year-old crocodiles, 300-year-old crocodiles? Their metabolic rate is low. If it's low, especially these cold-blooded animals, metabolic rate is low, they live a lot longer. It's a known fact, man. Come on.
If we are struggling to make gains, and I'm going to be frank here,
He's so busy about, gains. What gains? What are you talking about?
Never in my life seen a lifter who was making no progress, and then the solution was to simply...
I see them every day. They call themselves natties, and they're in the gym. They're making absolutely zero progress. If anything, they're making progress, all right, by shortening their lifespan, increasing reactive oxygen species, hypoxia, and a whole bunch of other things, man. Oxidative stress, inflaming their muscles, possibly causing them, over time, they may end up with a disease, and they won't even know what happened to them. They won't blame it on lifting. They'll just blame it on maybe the environment or something they ate or whatever, or it's a natural cause. These are unnatural. Your body would never give you a disease and make you sick. That is stupid to believe that. That is the most ignorant thing in the world, to believe that a human body would give you a disease when it was created to keep you alive. Because what's breathing for you? Who's pumping that blood in your heart? Who's beating the heart? Hello? Your body. It's there to keep you alive. Why does it have T cells? To fight off these, like, certain things, to keep you alive. Why would it ever give you a disease? It would only give you a disease if it could no longer function properly because you've done something to it, corrupted it, or damaged your body in some way. You've damaged it unnaturally.
Double their training volume. You just need to do twice as much. The only exception to that might be if they were doing almost nothing.
Yes, do twice as much so you could age yourself and get a disease twice faster than the last time. I told you before, success is a short window. If you want to build mass on the myofibrillar and get massively big, whatever, even in this so-called adapted state, all right, protein synthesis needs to exceed that breakdown to see that mass on that myofibrillar. Now, I eat in an anabolic, positive nitrogen balance, in anabolic growth state, because I'm doing something specific. I'm periodically lifting, trying to cause an adaptation through muscle damage, because I'm trying to grow more myofibrillars. I'm not trying to get to become the most massive guy, because too much in science, they might tell you this, that it is unhealthy to carry all that mass on the myofibrillar. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Not necessarily. I don't believe that totally. That mass can only get so big on a myofibrillar. That's why it has a domain limit. So when people tell you, these people online, they tell you, well, it's going to make you unhealthy if you grow this mass. Not necessarily. But I'm really more into growing more myofibrillars through a repair and a remodeling, which is a lot more complicated and difficult to accomplish. There's a pain threshold you have to go through. There's a lot you have to do. You have to eat a lot. You have to be patient throughout the week to try to regrow these new muscles. So that type of training is a lot more complex than somebody lifting in the gym repetitively. Yeah, and oh, it's high volume is going to build this muscle, or intensity, or going to the last rep, or whatever. None of those things are going to work, dude. It's just diet and lifting.
Hey, I've seen some people who are doing 4 or 5 sets a week per muscle, and they're not training hard enough. Yeah, increasing their volume is probably a good idea, and
the guy who is not training hard enough, or whether he's training hard enough, lifting these weights in the gym, who do you think is going to get bigger and stronger? Me going down to a buffet, eating twice a day at the buffet, breakfast and lunch, whatever, lunch and dinner. Let's say I'm eating lunch and dinner at the buffet every single day. All right, my only lifting is in the morning, and then I spend the rest of the day down at the buffet eating for hours and hours and hours. Who do you think is going to make more progress? The guy lifting there, working harder than the last time in the gym, or the guy that lifted but went down to the buffet to eat for hours, lunch and dinner every day?
them increase the intensity. But it's not, oh, the volume is a solution. It's like, oh, they're just...
If all of you were to put in the amount of effort that you put in the gym in eating, right, in eating and literally eating, then you would probably make it. But none of you do. You put all your effort into lifting, breaking your body down instead of going and actually building your body up, which is a lot harder.
Flat out not training hard enough, and definitely they need to train a little bit more if they're struggling like that.
That's what I said recently. I said to myself recently, you know what? I'm not training hard enough, so I have to ramp up my eating. I have to train to eat harder than the last time, so I can start building up my body again and be a beast. Yeah, I don't care about weights, lifting weights in the gym. What's that going to do for me? What's it going to do?
But by that same token, I've also had clients and seen many people who, when we cut their volumes back, they start making gains. I have seen way more cases.
And why is it that they made more gains when you cut back the volume on lifting? Because it's also a window for what lifting? A protein breakdown. You're breaking down proteins. So the harder you go, the less you're going to see in progress, because you're breaking down more protein because you're going harder than the last time. Like he said, they did less and they saw better gains. Yeah. Possibly, I don't know. But it's definitely inflammatory response because they're adapted and they're not eating enough.
Where reducing total training volume push someone through a plateau.
And I'm sorry, but your fake carbohydrate diet does not build muscles, dude. They don't build myofibrillar growth or mass on the myofibrillar eating carbs. They don't do that at all.
That I have where increasing it has.
Yeah. Sugar, yes. Sugar doesn't build muscles, Blaha.
When increasing it has, it's usually someone who's doing very little with minimal intensity, so you have to get them to actually train harder on a set-for-set basis.
Somebody has to tell Blaha, sugar does not build muscles.
Combined with doing more total work. But I have rarely seen the other. The only, again, exception to that on the volume.
Like I said, if you don't use it, these adaptations, you lose it. You lose the satellite cell. I've done videos on it. There's a video way down in this one too. This section of my video is way down at the bottom somewhere. You might see a video of it. It's a scientific video. It shows you how the satellite cell diminishes, how it goes away. If you allow it to go away, it's your fault. You're to blame.
And also would be someone has a lag.
We get them back when we go swimming in the summertime for the very first time. We get that damage. We get it when we do ice skating. We get it when we do a sprint. For the very first time after, I don't know, a year off doing it. Maybe climbing, swimming, whatever, ice hockey, something, whatever sport you're doing out there. I don't know. Dude, basketball, whatever. If you haven't done basketball all year and you do it for the very first time, why do muscles get damaged the very first time you do any type of exercise or climbing or something or lifting? Why is that? And then you don't get it again. See what I mean? What does that do when you do get that damage? What happens? The progenitor cells woken up, splits, divides, increases the number. And then it goes back for future regenerative demands. It increases the number for future regenerative demands.
Body part that hasn't gotten enough attention. In that case, we can throw a little more volume at it, and it may be a viable solution. In other words, someone whose biceps are lacking.
I know. You guys are all lifting because you want to create artificial strength through this forced production. So you have to keep being a lifting slave to that forced production because it's not based on natural strength. You are all upset about your natural strength is not good enough. Well, that's because you're eating carbs in artificial diet. That's why your testosterone's around 275, 300 or something. That's why my testosterone is around 1200. It's at 1200, and I don't like to lift because I'm on my natural carnivore diet. You are all on your unnatural carb diets. You guys love to eat carbs and ice cream all day and pizza, pasta, and all these weird fake foods. That's why your testosterone's low. That's why you see yourself as weak. And you're kind of chubby, fat, and you're losing your abs and a bunch of other things. I don't know. You think you're weak because of these problems. You're weak, and that makes you weak. Actually, these sugar diets, these sugar carb whatever fake diets, these drug-induced carb diets make you weak as well. They weaken you. They weaken your immune system. They weaken you. They weaken your body, your bones, your muscle. Everything, bro, gets weakened. That's why you say I'm weak. I gotta go to the gym and get strong. I gotta get stronger, and now I have to maintain that strength by eating a fake diet at the same time. Wow, that's really crazy. Then you turn yourself into a lifting gym slave. Get it? Because you're like, well, I have to keep coming into the gym because every time I take time off, I can't lift the same weight anymore. It feels heavy.
Well, they might need to do more curls. They might need to do more direct arm work.
Oh, yeah.
Their side delts are lacking.
Sure,
We
yeah.
may need to do more direct side delt work and even rear delt work in that case.
Yeah, sure.
But if their body as a whole is not growing, it's almost never more volume. And in many cases, again, I want to stress this, over the last 4 or 5 years of coaching, I have seen more than a
It only ever grows if you're in a positive nitrogen balance. If you're not in a positive nitrogen balance, you ain't growing. Like I said, GNC used to sell these sticks. They're called nitrogen sticks to check your nitrogen balance, to see if you were anabolic. I don't know if they still sell them.
dozen cases where someone was training too much. I cut their volumes by 50 or 60%.
Again, can you imagine this guy's trying to shuffle the small amount of nutrients that he's getting in his diet, the small, tiny amount. He's in hopes of that it may build a muscle. By lifting harder than the last time. Let's see how hard we could lift and eat a very low diet on a, what do they say? These guys, they always go, yeah, we could build muscles on a low calorie diet. Calories don't build muscles, protein does. But okay, but they say let's try to build muscle on an intermittent fat we're going to do intermittent fasting. We're going to build muscle. You're going to build muscle intermittent fasting? Nowhere in science does it say that intermittent fasting or low caloric diets build muscles. It says protein synthesis needs to exceed that breakdown to see that mass visually on the myofibrillar. That's what it says.
In the cases, I cut their volume by like 70, took out 70% of what they were doing.
Sure, yeah.
And then magically, they start making gains again.
What kind of gains? Lifting gains or physical muscular gains?
All right. So what about the people who are like, but there's some of these studies.
This Father's Day,
What about the people who are like, but there's some of these studies from certain circles? We need to be clear. It's not all exercise science that shows some more gains. There's a few problems with this. Number one, we have to be very careful extrapolating too much data from lifting studies. And I hate to have to say this because I do like to be evidence-based. A lot of the research is not good, okay? And I've seen people in other areas of science point out, they're like, the methods that they use in this sort of exercise science in these circles would be laughed out of any real hard science. It would almost be laughable, meaning their data would not be accepted. People say, what? Number one, sometimes the test subjects are too low. There's oftentimes not enough test subjects to draw a meaningful conclusion. That's why there's so many conflicting studies in this area. They're oftentimes too short term. So we need to be clear there. 20 test subjects for 8 weeks, and you're going to tell me that you can draw major meaningful conclusions regarding muscle growth? I don't think so. Also, many of them are untrained lifters.
Oh man, this is okay.
This is a problem.
There you go, untrained lifters. A lot of it's untrained lifters. Why? That's when you get the damage. That's when there's the most growth is happening there. Getting influx of these nuclei, they synthesize protein and a bunch of things.
Because untrained lifters grow so fast, you said the variability between people in different groups just due to genetic potential or starting point.
Lifters grow fast. It's a trickle. They get a tiny bit of growth there. It's like Blaha. He got some newbie gains in the beginning, but a lot of it is becoming diminished at this point. It's diminishing. He's diminishing. I don't know. I don't even see newbie gains here. I just see a guy, a regular dude, lifting. I don't see anything spectacular here at all whatsoever.
Could actually be a bigger factor than the variables. In other words,
like literally, look at these legs and look at his knees. I mean, it just, I don't know what's going on here. It's a sarcopenia, dude. Pure sarcopenia.
Some of those people may be prone to gaining muscle at 50% faster than the people.
It's a possibility he may even be osteosarcopenic. This is osteosarcopenia because I don't know, his bones, he says that lifting weights are going to increase the bone mass density, not on a fake carbohydrate diet. It won't. Sugar doesn't build bones. Sugar doesn't densify your bones. If anything, it withdraws the minerals from your bones. It shrinks your bones. It causes it to become weak. The the structural integrity becomes weak. It also dismantles collagens from your muscles. That's why they get injured. He was always complaining about getting injured because it weakens you. That's what it does. Carbohydrate, sugar diets is what they are. They're sugar drug diets. Weaken you, and by lifting, it weakens you even more by lifting because you're speeding up the process. Yeah.
In the other groups. Now, that could be eliminated by larger groups, studying 300 people instead of 20.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
People say, we can't do it. And then there's bias within the studies, bad researchers. So keep that in mind, who have their own biases. So you do need to be very careful in drawing too big of conclusions from some of this stuff, and particularly studying untrained lifters. We already know how to get untrained lifters big. Every coach
We know how to get untrained lifters big. Yeah, they just get a little bit in the beginning, then that's it.
anything knows how to put the first 10 pounds of muscle on a novice lifter, okay?
Yeah, they get damaged, and then if they start eating and doing specific things, they will. But it won't be 10 pounds. Most likely, they're lucky if they get 5 pounds. Anything more than that is probably carbohydrate diet or this sarcoplasmic stuff.
It's extremely easy. We have tons of real world data, and the only thing you'd be studying is who could put that 10 pounds on 5% faster, maybe with some other.
Yeah, but is their diet purely, is it pure animal protein? No, it's carbohydrates, so you don't know what they're putting on, dude.
Methods. It's pretty negligible at that point. Just a speed issue. The other thing to think about, there's tons of studies that show lower volumes and moderate volumes. Tons of them produce great muscle growth. And I've also seen some even experts refer to.
They don't. They don't. They don't. There isn't any. It's minor. It's minute muscle growth. Look, again, to build that mass on that myofibrillar, protein synthesis needs to exceed breakdown. It's in science. It tells you that. The science tell you what builds muscle. Yeah, science tells you what builds muscle. It says when protein synthesis exceeds breakdown, to see that mass on that myofibrillar, okay? It says you need to be in a positive nitrogen balance, which makes you what? Anabolic. That's what science says. Now, do they tell you how to get out of the repeated bout effect if you want to do micro-injuring? Like if you want to micro-injure the muscle fibers, micro-injuring training? Yeah, they explain everything about that, what you get in that type of training. That's not Blaha's training, though. Blaha is not a periodic lifter. He's a consistent lifter. He's a gym slave a lifting slave. He lifts consistently. That's why he's suffering from sarcopenia and stuff like that. People don't think about that. Mentally, they don't think about that, and visually, they can't understand that. They don't understand why Blaha looks sarcopenic. He looks sarcopenic, is suffering from that, because that's what happens when you are a chronic lifter. Think about it. What's the difference between chronic lifting and periodic lifting? What do lifters get in muscles when they lift periodically? And what do lifters get when they lift chronically? See what I mean? Ever heard of chronic diseases? Things that will come out, that will become chronic? Yeah. Okay. Why periodic? Did you ever hear of periodic diseases? No such thing as a periodic disease. But you have heard of chronic diseases. What causes chronic diseases? When you're doing something chronically to your body, like eating an artificial diet, chronically eating that will cause what? Metabolic diseases. Okay. What will cause you other metabolic diseases? Lifting chronically will cause what? Metabolic diseases. Yeah. Get it? Get it? You get it? See what I mean? Trying to maintain some phony strength based on, I don't know, practice lifting strength, dude. Fake.
Lower volumes is high volume. Okay? But when you have studies looking at 20 plus sets, I don't count anything under that as high volume. Like, I think for most people, 10 to 12 is a good sweet spot of sets per week. Okay? If you're training hard. But again, the other problem is these researchers have people training so not hard, and if you watch a lot of them train, they don't train hard themselves, and they're the ones making the call in the lab that they're having to do 30 sets to get good muscle growth because the training is so bad. Something to think about there also. Yeah, because you're not pushing the test subjects, they're not even training hard. So there's a lot of problems there, so I want to point that out. You can't say, well, the science doesn't really show that.
Science does show.
And there's a lot of conflicting data in that science.
There's no conflicting data in science. Science tells you what damages, what part of the exercise causes damage to the myofibrillar. It's concentric. They always mention, it's eccentric that causes damage, not the concentric. Concentric, the up force, is associated with the pump, if you're eating artificial diet, and it's associated with force production. Now, eccentric is associated with muscle damage, okay? Yeah, it's a known fact. And periodic and lifting, unaccustomed, untrained, and unfamiliar forms cause this damage in an eccentric environment. Yeah. Now, you need to be in a deficit of eating protein synthesis needs to exceed this breakdown because you've caused real micro injuries to the muscle fibers. They'll become apoptotic. So you can't lift the rest of the week. You wouldn't want to lift. You're going to be in pain. And you're going to go through a repair and remodeling. That's when it comes to muscle damage training. Now, if you're a concentric lifter, then what are you getting there? What type of muscles are you growing? It's going to be sarcoplasmic. It's sarcoplasmic because it's not associated with muscle damage. It's sarcoplasmic, and you're going to get more of these. You're going to get more force production. That's about it. And then you have to maintain it doing those lifts by doing the exact same things and maintaining that stuff. So science tells you everything. Tells you it's superior. Eccentric exercises are superior to concentric. Why are they superior? Well, read it and find out. A bunch of stuff is there. It tells you a lot of stuff, okay? Why muscles don't get damaged with repeated bouts and stuff, and even when they are repaired and remodeled, why do they become harder to damage? Because they've repaired and remodeled stronger being resisted. They're resistant from further assaults getting damaged. You gotta get it to grow real myofibrillar growth. Now, as far as that mass, the mass on the myofibrillar, yeah, you can grow mass on the myofibrillar, but it'll reach a stage. It tells you reaches an MND size limit, okay? It's beyond where the progenitor could donate any extra nuclei to that domain to support further muscle growth. So does science tell you that? Do they tell you that that there's a thing called repeated bout effect phenomenon, why there's no more damage coming in that regard? Do they tell you all these things? Do they tell you myocytic energy receptor control strength, but not the mass of limb muscles? They tell you everything in science. I mean everything, dude. So I don't know what Blaha's talking about.
So we're forced to also take our experience in the real world. And I find simply making people train harder.
I do take my experience. I would never make anybody lift harder in the gym. I would send them I would tell them to go make money, because if you don't have any money, don't waste your time in the gym. Money is what builds bodies, not lifting a weight, okay? Slave lifting does not build bodies. They diminish you over time. This guy he's out to lunch.
Works. And I have clients now who, because they participate in other sports.
Especially him, overfed, undernourished, and lifting. Jesus. Really diminishing yourself.
I have their training volumes extremely low, yet now they're making gains. And I do mean like 5 or 6 sets of muscle group a week. But they train hard.
5, 6 sets of muscles. Okay, so then they're making gains in just lifting. They're lifting slaves. They're not making muscular gains. Okay.
And it works.
Yeah, sure does.
All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals.
All of these things are unmaintainable. The mass on the myofibular, you have to maintain it with food. The lifting, you have to maintain it. This force production, this artificial force production that you created, you have to maintain it by lifting, by being a lifting slave. Me personally, when you build myofibulars through a repair and remodeling, you're increasing your natural strength and you're increasing the density of your muscle fibers. That does not require maintenance. See what I mean? That stuff does not require maintenance. But again, you may not be satisfied enough. That's your problem. You may not be satisfied. People are never satisfied with their lifts. So they become a lifting slave, like Blaha.
Next time.
See? I'll see you next time, friends. You tell me what you think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel. Comment down below helps with the algorithm. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao, friends.